All right, let's talk about this Raw 24.
I'll take it back. Let's call Grady back instead.
Oh, this wasn't that bad.
Oh, it was hideous.
It was
hideous
pretty bad.
show.
But I like the stuff with Luger.
We watched Raw 24, July 5th, 1993. So this is the day after, obviously, July 4th, and the Stars and Stripes Challenge. And they're showing clips of guys trying and failing to slam Yokozuna and playing fanfare for the common man in the background. I want to point out here that one of the men trying and failing to slam Yokozuna was Braun Breaker's dad. And I couldn't help but note that he cheated and punched Yokozuna several times before trying to slam.
I was laughing my ass off when they watched this because they had wrestlers and then they had real sports stars, okay? And so maybe stars is kind of a stretch, but they had people that were in sports. So these sports guys would like walk up and they would grab this dude by the balls and they couldn't lift him and then they just walk away. But these fucking wrestlers are trying to beat the shit out of this guy.
Yes.
They're in there and they're attacking him and they're hitting the ropes and they're doing their war dance and they're coming off the top. I'm like, man, that doesn't seem fair. The sports guys didn't get to try and tackle him or hit him with a golf club or a baseball bat. They just had to try and lift the guy. It's weird. They didn't seem to have clear rules.
I don't remember any of this. I just figured...
You don't remember any of this?
No, I remember Luger coming down in the helicopter. I remember him slamming him, but I don't remember all the build-up.
Oh, man. I remember all of this. It was so wacky.
And looking back at it, Luger made some of those other wrestlers look like chumps.
Well, yeah.
Especially...
He made all of them look like chumps.
Especially a guy like Scott Steiner. Like Scott Steiner of the 2000s. Can you imagine Luger trying to pull that?
Well,
he would have none of that.
It wasn't Luger's fault.
Well,
he
it was
doing
fake.
What was booked. Yes.
Of course. What are you talking about, Craig?
No, I'm saying that Scott Steiner would not, his ego would not let that happen.
Oh, he was a professional. He would have.
Please.
What, do you think he's going to really go in there and shoot body slam Yokozuna?
No, I'm thinking he wouldn't participate.
Well, maybe he wouldn't participate. But you know what? He was a professional here. He participated. He was unable to lift the big man. He didn't have a plate in his forearm to help like Luger did.
That's true.
And besides, Luger was a hip toss, just like Bobby Heenan said.
Sure.
I only brought this up because we watched NXT in your house and we talked about Braun Breaker's heritage of aggression. And I laughed at them, but you know what? They got a point. There was some aggression in this.
Well, of course they did.
Steiner family tree.
You know, the other thing that I liked about it was, I don't like to put myself over or anything, but I did the Raw report today on Observer Live, and someone in the Twitch chat, when I was done with the Raw report, in all caps, they wrote, "Brian is the greatest storyteller ever." And I want you to know, whoever it was that said that, it touched me. It touched me to hear that. But I am not the greatest storyteller ever. Do you want to know who's the greatest fucking storyteller ever? Fucking Vince McMahon. His fucking voiceover for this challenge was the fucking most amazing thing I ever heard in my life. Golly, this fucker could spin a yarn. He's telling this fucking story, and I didn't write any of it down, but like, Luger's coming out and he's like, "We always knew that Lex Luger cared about himself, but what we didn't know till today is that he cared about his country." And it's so fucking melodramatic. It's fucking preposterous. But dude, this fucking guy was a master of storytelling. And, when you think about all of the, when you think about like the glory period of WWE, when you think about like the 80s.
I was going to say, this isn't it.
Yeah, you think about the 80s, and then you think about like the Monday Night Wars. And, what all these things have in common is fucking Vince. He was either at the commentary booth, or he was holding the mic and cutting promos for these other fuckers, or he was doing voiceovers, or he was playing the Mr. McMahon character, and out there doing 20-minute promos. Like, this fucking guy, whatever you want to say about his booking nowadays, and bro, I said a lot on Observer Live today, whatever you want to say about it, this guy's the fucking heart and soul of WWE. And he was the heart and soul of it when it was great. And unfortunately, he's the heart and soul of it now when he can't book his way out of a paper bag. But man, what a fucking storyteller this guy was. Whether as a character or as the announcer out there telling you all of the stories that he's booked in his head. I mean, he was fucking amazing on this show. He was amazing.
So you got all, as Brian noted, the athletes would walk up, football players, hockey players. They'd briefly grab Yoko. I think Bill Frelick of the NFL may have gotten one leg off the ground a little bit, but they'd try. And like that reader on the listener on Facebook asked, when should you give up? One time after slamming Yokozuna, you should give up if it doesn't work. Crush was the last in-ring guy to go, and he actually got him up into slam position, but his back gave out. And he goes down clutching his back in agony. Tatanka, by the way, like Scotty Steiner slapped him or punched him or whatever, and Rick Steiner punched him, and Yoko just shrugged it all off and didn't care. But Tatanka was like hitting the ropes and chopping him and coming off the top rope and chopping him. And when after he tried the slam and failed, Yoko said, okay, my turn. And he picked him up and squashed him and dropped the big leg and killed him. Well, Tatanka learned his lesson. So Randy Savage is there. He wasn't going to try, but everyone else has tried and failed. He's the last American left. He's got to give it a go. He can't get it. And as you noted, now here's the thing. We weren't watching this like minute by minute. What we were watching was clearly an edited video package, which means that Vince's voiceover was by definition done after the fact, so he had to have known how it was all going to end. But he's dejected, but still boisterous. Oh, it's over. Yokozuna has humiliated America. But then the helicopter comes in. A helicopter's landing on the deck. We don't know who's on it. No! Could it be? Yes! It was Lex Luger! And Fuji claimed Lex was too late. Lex gave him a speech about the USA and tossed Fuji out of the ring.
Oh my god, this fucking speech that Luger cut was an atrocity. Holy smokes, he's calling him like a rice-eating... I forget what the fuck he said, but it was like...
A lot of stereotypical comments.
You could have made this fucking great without that bullshit. I'm just watching this thing thinking, listen, I know we were in like a trade war, but they're fucking booking this thing like it's 1939. I'm like, fuck me, dude. We're not at war with Japan. Yeah. Fuck the shit that they were having. I was appalled.
Racism was very popular. So that's what they did. So Yoko charges, Lex dodges, Yoko hits the turnbuckle, Lex hits the loaded steel forearm shot, and he hits this slam-like thing. It's sort of a slam. It's not the best slam I ever saw, but it's a slam. And, of course, Vince goes ballistic. And now we go from the boat. And the last thing I want to say about this, and I was actually stunned by this part, they actually have like a full deck of people for this boat. I know it's in New York. There's a lot of people there who want to come see the boat, want to come see all these wrestlers, but you could not be to go to a boat and watch Body Slam Challenge. That's not going to happen. So credit to them for finding people who did. So Vince explains that Lex has challenged Yoko to a title match. Mr. Fuji has refused. And Vince thanks all of the athletes who showed up to the event. And Savage says he is damn proud of Lex Luger.
All downhill from there, brother.
Oh, dude. Blake Beverly and the 1-2-3 Kid. Holy God.
I only have one thing to say about this boring-ass match. Blake Beverly beats on him for like 10 minutes, and then 1-2-3 Kid gets one move and wins. Fucking went on for a lifetime. Why? Because we've said this a million times. When they got something big to talk about, they book a boring fucking show so that all you can do is listen to the announcers because you're fucking bored. This 1-2-3 Kid, I mean, he's so great. He's great. But man, it's just one of those things that, like, because it was such a famous angle and because he became such a huge star, and then, you know, later Sean Waltman and then X-Pac and everything like that. But when you really think about it, this is the dumbest fucking name for a wrestler you ever heard of. 1-2-3 Kid. That's Vince's idea. He was like, we're going to call you the 1-2-3 Kid because you got a pin. Like, what? His fucking name on the poster. 1-2-3 Kid. That's his fucking name. He doesn't have a name. He's 1-2-3 Kid. Like, if you told a normal person about this, they'd be like, what? His name is 1-2-3 Kid? But fuck, Vince has these fucking ideas, and he just goes with it like fucking Madcap Moss. It's what made me thinking about this. It's like, dumb names.
1, 2, 3 Kid is much better than Madcap Moss.
They're both dumb is my point. But Sean Waltman was so great that he managed to, like, kind of get it over. But fuck, 1, 2, 3 Kid was Vince's brilliant fucking gimmick. God.
So as you noted, this thing just went forever. By the time it was done, he was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Kid. They wrestled. They wrestled. There's a lot of standing there, by the way. A lot of Blake Beverly. Mike Enos. He was definitely Mike Enos here. There were no Beverly Brothers involved. Mike Enos doing like a slap and standing there and showing a complete void of charisma where a human being should be. The funny part was, here's how they started the comeback. And this actually almost made the whole thing worth watching. Kid's on the floor. Kid's knocked down on the floor, stumbling to his feet. And so Mike Enos goes up top. Maybe it's off the apron. I don't even care. But eventually, the Kid's in position. And Mike Enos goes for a standing axe handle. And the Kid dodges. And because the Kid dodged, Mike Enos' momentum is so powerful, it carries him all the way down to the ground onto his face. What an axe handle this would have been.
Brother, they came up with that.
He'd have killed the guy.
They came up with 1, 2, 3 Kid, and they also came up with that idea right before the finish.
So there's
I'll
like
go for the sledge and you move.
There's like a fake comeback and more heat. And finally, Kid hits a leg drop and he wins.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Greg. Do you have anything you could possibly add to this mess?
I was just he crashed and burned on that spinning leg whatever thing that he tried on Razor, and he actually hit it here, and it was not very impressive.
It's not the best dive you ever saw.
No, it's just a dive. He does a flip. The other thing that I noticed and 1, 2, 3 Kid coming out, he is so happy to be in the WWE. He's hugging fans. He's posing for pictures. Yeah. He's kissing babies. He is so excited to be a WWF wrestler.
Yes.
That's cool. Go ahead.
So, watch this terrible match.
It is cool.
Terrible match. And then you think, okay, gotta give these people something to cheer about. Let's debut some new talent. It's Men on a Mission.
Oh, bro, don't bury this. This was fucking money, dude.
This was no money, Brian. This was debt.
They did a rap.
This is Mo money.
Yeah.
This was not as good as MVP's diss track at the pay-per-view.
Well,
Not
that's
even close.
true. That's true. But I mean, in 20 years, when we look back on both historically, it's possible that we will think that, these guys.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Bam Bam Bigelow
I was
versus
amused.
Joey Maggs.
Quick,
Bam Bam,
thank God.
was apparently as pissed off watching the show as I was. He just tears Maggs apart and pins him with a couple avalanches. Samu versus The Undertaker.
How long did this fucking match go?
I looked down
4.5 hours?
I looked down at my timer and assessed how can there possibly still be 20 minutes left in the show.
I did think that same thought.
So the story is, what's his name
Please.
stole the urn.
Tell me.
Mr. Hughes stole the urn, and Paul Bearer has been taken out. He's not back yet. So Undertaker is going solo. So he's trying all sorts of new things, like leapfrogs and drop kicks. And that's the story. So
That leapfrog turned out real good for him.
where he took the head right to the groin.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad times. The drop kick was cool.
Sure.
Yeah. Then he misses his big flying clothesline, and that's where I noticed this is Undertaker and Samu. These are big dudes, and this ring is solid stone. That looked like absolutely no fun to bump in. So Taker bumped all over it. He's taking power slams and body slams. It's a hell of a beating. And eventually, so Taker's sitting up for everything. And eventually, of course, he does not do the sit-up. So Samu hits a top rope headbutt. He hits it. Just thinking, okay, Taker's going to kick out and do his comeback. Instead, Samu doesn't make a cover. He just slaps him a few times. He goes back up. This time he misses the headbutt. And Taker hits a chokeslam and a tombstone and wins.
Which the Macho Man said the Undertaker had him 14 feet up in the air.
I don't. That's
He had in the
math.
ring.
He's worse at math than Brian is. So to answer your question, Brian, about how long this could possibly have gone, when it was over, I was like, well, at least the show's done. And then
No.
How can there still be 10 minutes left?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. This show is taking place in a wormhole. So Yokozuna does a promo. It's Fuji doing all the talking. Did any of you understand a goddamn thing this man said? Vince translated.
Well, he kept saying hip toss. I heard that.
That's swell. Crush interrupts. He thanks Luger, says Luger being proud to be an American. Vince explains to Crush that Mr. Fuji issued an open contract. So Crush wants a title match. Fuji denies this, but Vince gets in Yoko's face. Yokozuna, will you accept Crush's challenge? And of course, Mr. Fuji can turn down a challenge, but Yokozuna is honorable and has no fear. So he will accept it. He says, hi! He accepts Crush's challenge. I'm pretty sure that Fuji said they would be in Hawaii next week.
What?
I'm also sure he's wrong.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
I swear, that's the message I got.
I'm pretty sure they weren't in Hawaii, but I mean...
And he vows to humiliate Crush in Kona. There's...
I do like how it's canon that Yokozuna speaks perfect English. But he still had to answer the challenge in
Japanese.
Fake Japanese, yes.
Yeah. There's more. Mr. Perfect beat Brian Costello with a perfect plex.
That's happened.
Yeah.
And
then that was the end.
Next week, it's Crush versus Yoko. They showed Lex Luger some more.
That match sounds fucking horrible.
This show was awful.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I liked the Luger stuff at the beginning. I was entertained by that.
It was different.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time on it, so that was good.
They really did.
Because I didn't need to spend any time on anything else.
Yeah, on this show.
They should have just played the whole fucking thing, to be honest with you. I mean, could it have been that boring to see some random basketball dude try to slay Yokozuna compared to those matches we watched?
The best thing on this show is Bam Bam Bigelow and Joey Maggs.
Come on.
It was!
Get out of here. The best thing on the show was the Body Slam Challenge. By far. Except for Luger's promo.
Craig, your vote.
I hate to agree with Brian, but he's right.
Yes, thank you.
All right. There you go then.
All righty. We're going to wrap it up. That's it. That was a Raw show.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be better next week.
Thumbs down.
Nothing.
I mean, we're getting Yokozuna and Crush, so we'll have some material. That match sounds appalling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does it not?
I mean...
But you know what? Sometimes they have a lineup, and a match sounds appalling, and it, like, over-delivers.
Sure.
So I guess that's possible.
What if it under-delivers?
I mean, we are going to see Crush crushed. You know what I'm saying?
When has Crush over-delivered? Ever?
Well, never.
Okay.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Vinny,
Well, we watched WWF Raw.
fortunately, hell would probably be really cold and raw, just playing on a fucking loop for eternity.
Raw, number 25, July 12th, 1993. I guess you guys like this. I thought this may have been the first 3-hour edition of Raw.
Oh, God, Vinny, anything else?
ended-
What is wrong with you?
It went on forever.
You were less miserable when you had COVID. You aware of that?
One day was pretty bad.
It was a lateral move at best.
Honestly, except for the one very, very sick day, my life was not impacted that much. That is a fact. Yokozuna versus Crush.
Bro, this was so much better than I thought.
I agree.
It was boring,
Yes.
but it was good.
In the granny scale, I was expecting a 1 or a 2. I got like a 3,
Oh, come on.
4.
A 3?
It was
I'd
very
give this a solid 4.5.
It was
I
very...
can't quite go 5.
Yokozuna was awesome.
Dude, Yokozuna
Yes.
is fucking great.
In the first minute and last minute, and in between, he did nerve pinching. Just pinch that nerve. Gotta get a pinch on there and just not move for 10 minutes at a time.
Brother, it's called idiot-proofing a match.
That's all
You know what
true.
Crush can't screw up?
Getting his nerves
Laying on the
pinched.
mat in a nerve pinch. Yeah. You cannot screw it up. You just lay there.
I do want to talk about how awesome Yokozuna was. 'Cause
Good.
Yokozuna was fucking awesome. He does this. He misses an elbow drop, jumps as high as he can, which is awfully high for a 500-pound man. Goes flat on his back, pops right back up to his feet to feed Crush, takes his big boot, takes this awesome bump through the ropes to the floor. Yokozuna was amazing.
Dude, he took a bump later for some stupid move Crush did. Crush like gave him a boot or something. Fucking Yokozuna jumps straight up in the air. He flaps his arms like he's trying to fucking take off.
And he may have.
He takes a giant-ass fucking bump on this hard-ass ring. This was the hard rings, everybody.
That's true.
This is not the rings that had give. And, man, this guy was taking bumps. His offense looked great. His bumping was great. His selling was great. And, you know, I can't quite go so far as to say what I'm about to say, but when you really think about the history of WWE, it's almost, but not quite, the story of the Samoan dynasty. Like,
that's the big
there
part of
have
it.
been so many Samoans that have been put in these top positions. I mean, all the way back. I mean, the Wild Samoans were
Sika,
like,
yes.
but today they talk about them like they're the greatest tag team of all time.
Well, they were tag team
And
champions.
you had Yokozuna, and even he wasn't a world champion, but like Fatu when he was doing that gimmick with Scotty 2 Hot, he was a big
Rikishi.
star. Rock, Rikishi, now Roman Reigns, the Usos, Umaga. It's been freaking decades.
Yep.
Decades. This company has been built around Samoans. Yeah, Yokozuna was awesome. Fucking awesome.
Yokozuna was trying to do everything to make Crush's horrible offense look decent. He was bumping like a madman for him. A man that big taking those big bumps is something to watch.
It was a clothesline. Crush had a clothesline in his comeback, and Yoko just.
He leaped in the air, flopped around, took this big ass
It was
bump.
amazing. Yes.
He was great. I remember as a kid, I always thought Yokozuna was a great worker. And then I got older, and other people said he really wasn't all that great. And I was like, I seem to remember he was fucking great. And now that I'm looking back again, I was right. He was fucking great.
Yeah, as Vinny will discuss in just a minute, Crush was going to be laid out, and Yoko was doing everything that Crush should have been doing to make him look good.
So, Crush is making his comeback, hits a top rope shoulder block, gets a 2.9 count, and Vince is talking about what a great champion Crush would have been. And so Crush goes up top and tries it again. This is actually funny because he's Crush, a 6'6" or whatever, 300-pound monster. He's on the top rope, and Mr. Fuji from the floor just whacks him with his flagpole, literally an old man with a cane almost, and Crush screams and goes flying off to the floor. That made me laugh. But I cut him off, and so Yoko hits a slam on the floor, throws him in, hits the belly-to-belly, the big-ass leg drop, the bonsai drop, and pins him. Yoko was great. And then there are more bonsai drops, and
5
total.
I believe there were 5, and they were playing it up like, my God. Hacksaw took 3, and he was out of action for forever. Yeah. And man, this Crush is taken. And then later they're talking about how Savage, because Savage goes down finally to help you pull Crush's body out of the wreckage.
Yes, no one else can help him.
No, and then later Bobby Heenan's noting, you went backstage with Crush, and you came back with, what did he say? Like watery eyes or something like that? Insinuating it was so bad the Macho Man Randy Savage was crying over his fallen friend. It's like, the one thing Vince knows how to do is he knows how to make a monster heel. And this Yokozuna was, originally, he was going to put over Lex Luger, so Luger could be the new Hulk Hogan, the new American hero. And man, they were creating a fucking monster for this American hero to beat. And I thought this whole thing was great. The match, Yoko's performance, the destruction of Crush, the way they played it up is like, oh my God, how will he ever come back from 5? What happens if this happens to Luger? I thought this was great.
So yes, eventually Savage is there to pull Crush to safety and ward Yokozuna off with a chair. They go to break. When they come back, Crush is stretchered out, and who is there standing next to him but Tatanka? Glad he finally showed up. Way to lend a hand. Heenan is on a tirade. This is a new Yokozuna. Yokozuna had the geisha girls out there to give him flowers, where he takes the flowers and smashes them against the ropes, and then he tears Crush apart. Heenan says it's a new Yokozuna. It's all Lex Luger's fault, and now Lex is going to have to deal with it. Yoko's going to put you in a body cast. I believe he said this man is dangerous with a capital Z.
Well, Yokozuna.
I guess that's true.
Yes.
Speaking of Samoans, the Head Shrinkers.
By the way, what a promo that Bobby cut.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Yokozuna's got Fuji, who
Sucks.
he ain't cutting great money promos.
No.
And even though it has been established in canon that Yokozuna speaks perfect English, he's not allowed to talk. Yeah. So finally they had Heenan here cut the money promo for this match with Luger.
And it was great. When you think about Heenan, you think about him comedy, doing comedy.
No, this guy's a great promo.
Yes. The Head Shrinkers versus Aaron Ferguson and PJ Walker.
Oh, my God. So first off, Vince and Savage and Heenan, they got
not the Samoans, mind you.
They got confused the moment this match started. And they cut, what's the other guy's name? PJ Walker and who?
Aaron Ferguson.
They keep calling PJ Walker just incredible. Aaron Ferguson. Through the entire match. And then, he gets killed. And then, Aaron Ferguson or whatever tags in. And they're talking about Walker. So anyway, it's bad enough that they don't know who either guy is. But very early in this match, the Samoans decide we're going to give old PJ Walker here, or as I like to call him, Aaron Ferguson. We're going to give PJ Walker the flapjack. And the flapjack is where you go up and you land on your belly. But they fucking throw this guy so high. And I don't know if Just Incredible thought it was going to be a backdrop, or if he just went up so high that he instinctually thought, I need to flip over. Because he starts going straight down towards his head. And it was the weirdest thing because it wasn't like he flipped over at the last minute. He actually twisted and flipped at the last second. And he landed right on the back of his fucking head. And he claims that he got knocked out here, okay?
Okay.
Sure.
But I don't think he did because he then does another spot.
He took a clothesline.
Yep.
So he does another spot and he gets fucking waylaid with a clothesline and he lands.
And he corpses.
And his legs are crossed, okay?
And his arms are tense, yes.
You never see someone, which actually they should do more often, but you never see someone do that bump where they land with their legs crossed flat on their back. So he lands there with his legs crossed flat on his back, and his arms are, he's stiff. He's stiff as a board. It looks like he's dead. And the Samoans just keep walking around, and the referee runs over, and I was just flabbergasted because the referee's job is to see if you're alive or dead. Well, he looks at this guy, and he appears to be dead. So he's just like, well, you guys work. And the fucking match continues. There's a fucking corpse in the ring. And they're doing spots. And this guy's laying there stiff as a board, dead.
He's on the apron, but still.
Well, yeah, they booted him out of the way.
They rolled him corpse.
Over. Jesus Christ. And then they do the rest of the match and they kill the other bloke. But I was just dumbfounded watching this thing here. You guys, we talk about wrestling nowadays and Jeff Hardy in that match with the Young Bucks. And then, a few days later, the Young Bucks didn't even know until a few days later that Jeff didn't even remember the match. They're calling spots to the guy, but I think they probably just figured, we got a lot of spots. This guy can't remember all this shit. So, it turns out, and then, of course, there's a big, scandal and everything like that. Fucking this was a fucking scandal. The guy was dead. He was dead in the middle of the fucking ring, and they rolled his corpse over, and they just kept fucking working. Jesus.
The worst thing was he took two of the most vicious bumps I've ever seen, back to back, and they didn't even get his name right.
No. That'll be a funeral for Aaron Ferguson.
God.
Eventually, the man who was Aaron Ferguson, who they called PJ Walker, was pinned with the double skull-crushing finale and the Rikishi top rope splash.
God, this match. That was brutal.
Yeah, that was no good. Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels have another match next week. And you look around and figure, hey, these guys have great matches every time you put them together. Let's keep doing it. Okay, Tatanka versus the Brooklyn Brawler. All right,
Brooklyn Brawler's a good worker.
He's 100% competent, but he's the Brooklyn Brawler, and Tatanka's undefeated. Mm-hmm. There was no point in the 75 minutes this lasted where I thought Brooklyn Brawler was going to win. But I had to watch the Brooklyn Brawler get the heat on Tatanka. As if this may be the day. This may be when the streak ends. The Brooklyn Brawler may put that...
Oh, that's right. He was still undefeated.
Yes, he may put that one in the loss column for Tatanka here. So it's just going on forever. And Brawler's got him in a chin lock. And
working rings around Tatanka.
Probably. And there's nothing to say. So he's got his chin lock on, and Heenan just screams, "Come on, Brawler! Squeeze!" So eventually, Tatanka hits some chops and a Samoan drop, and he wins. Brooklyn Brawler did not.
Oh my God. The match is just it's insufferably long.
Thank you.
But the Brooklyn Brawler was pretty good. And
that's the problem.
I'm watching this just going, man, look at this. He's working rings around Tatanka. Tatanka's the big star, and the Brooklyn Brawler's just, doing jobs or whatever. And then Tatanka starts making his comeback, and he starts doing his dance. And he hits the ropes to duck a lariat or whatever. And he literally does the fucking thing where I don't know what happened, but he went to turn into the ropes the wrong way And then he doesn't even get his arm over the rope. He literally goes, he almost snaps his neck on the rope. He misses the fucking top rope hitting the ropes and then pretends to run back the other day. I'm like, dude, this guy looks like he's never worked before. But this is an undefeated Native American Tatanka. This was not a good performance by old Tatanka.
Yes,
Although I have not seen one since we started watching these Retro Raws.
What this lacked in action made it for in length.
Is that supposed to be good?
No.
Not in wrestling.
No, if it's you.
We go to interview some fans before the show. Do they think Lex Luger deserves a title shot?
Oh my gosh, these are the worst actors.
Bro, these kids. These kids were so much better than these people doing promos on Raw and SmackDown.
They said, children, cut promos for Lex Luger.
One of these kids got a good fucking promo. He was going in all these details about it was something like, Lex Luger's going to win. And he's not only going to stand up for our country once, he's going to stand up for our country twice. Like he did on that USS Intrepid when he slammed Yokozuna. He's going to beat him for the WWF title. I'm like, God damn, get this fucking kid managing fucking Yokozuna or something. Luger.
They pay these kids SAG scale.
Oh, come on.
These promos were written for them.
No, they weren't.
Oh, please.
Kids are smart.
You're a mark. Get out of here.
Kids are smart.
The last kid goes, Hulk Hogan's got to win. Or
oh, yeah, I'm sure they scripted that for a kid. Hey, kid, I got some words for you.
The last
Hulk
one was
Hogan's going to win. You got it?
Lex Luger.
Take one. Whatever.
I did like the one kid who said Luger helped our country when we needed it the most.
That's right. The most.
In the history of the United States of America, we've never needed more help.
Dude,
when
keep in
fat
mind,
guy on a boat couldn't get off the ground.
We're 2 years removed from Desert Storm.
Yes.
But when this country needed Luger the most, when the fat guy was not going up on the boat, thank God he was there. Thank God he was there to lift him.
Mr. Hughes versus Tony DeVito. As the match is going on, a black wreath is brought to ringside. And in case this is too subtle for you, I actually didn't write. It's something like to Mr. Hughes from The Undertaker.
That was the card.
It was the card, yes. So Hughes sneers at this thing, beats up Tony DeVito, wins the Bubba Slam, and then beats up the wreath.
I liked Bobby Heenan, like is completely and totally sincerely. He goes, "Where do you get a black wreath?" It's one of those things that, like, I think about that shit all the time. I'm glad that Bobby and I are on the same wavelength. The issue here was not the urn or Mr. Hughes or the Undertaker. The real question is, where the fuck do you get a giant black wreath? Well, they found one.
Undertaker has beautiful handwriting, by the way. Because he showed a close-up of this card, and it couldn't have been nicer.
Well, bro, he's a fucking Undertaker. I'm sure he's written a lot of sympathy cards in his life.
Yeah, before or after digging the grave.
It doesn't matter.
I see.
Multi-purpose.
It's to practice his writing.
I didn't realize that digging graves and grieving counselor went hand in hand.
He handles everything, man. Answers phones.
Yeah. We don't know how big the...
Keeps the coffee stocked.
All we know about this funeral parlor is it's him and Paul Bearer. Doesn't seem like a big operation.
Mean Gene Okerlund hosts the first SummerSlam report. And because it's the first SummerSlam report, he has nothing to report, hardly. Bret Hart will face Jerry Lawler. And Lex Luger will have a major announcement this weekend on Superstars and Challenge, launching some kind of campaign.
Vince, he says, what have you heard? I'm like, what have you heard, Gene? This is your fucking job. You just pawned it off to old Vince? So, yes, Luger's going to launch a campaign.
Yeah.
Wow.
Spoiler alert, I don't think Bret Hart wrestles Jerry Lawler.
They do some kind of gimmick.
I think Sean took his place with the Sean's Knights.
That's Survivor Series.
No, that's Survivor Series, dude.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. They do Kiss My Foot, right?
I think so, yeah.
I don't remember now.
This feud at some point, I think it's a SummerSlam match.
I thought Jerry got in trouble.
That's by Survivor Series.
Oh, okay.
That's still months and months away.
My bad.
SummerSlam, they do a gimmick where Jerry tries to get Doink to take his place, and Bret beats him, and then Bret beats up Jerry in the Kiss My Foot match, and so Jerry brings in his dentist, Isaac Yankem.
Ah.
This is what we have to look forward to here in the
makes
summer
more
of
sense.
'93. And then, yes, Lawler gets into some hot water. Vince introduces, here's Mom! It's men on a mission.
Paisley dancing was the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. She was fucking dancing to this music. I like it.
You sent us like a 30-second clip?
Not even that. It was like the last 12 seconds, and then she took a bump.
She did.
She randomly decided I need to take a bump at the end of dancing.
Made my evening.
It made my
Well, it was
evening.
better than actually watching this promo.
Oh, come on.
Like, listen, I'm not a rap aficionado, obviously.
You don't say.
No.
But Oscar
Tupac.
genuinely seems to suck at this.
Oh, golly, Vinny, you're a horrible person. That's
No,
like
Vinny's
8
right.
examples on this show tonight.
Vinny's correct.
I think he did a good job. And then it was funny to watch like the other two guys mean mugging the camera.
And the which I guess is fitting because the gimmick is they're broke, but the absolute ghetto video effects. Let's bring the camera up, put it on Mabel, and throw it back the other way. But yes, Oscar with lines like he is ready, willing, and able, and his name is Mabel.
Well, what the fuck are you going to rhyme with Mabel?
Find something.
He's as big as the Tower of Babel. Here comes Mabel. Well, that'd be a lot better.
Well, you're not a good rapper either, as it turns out.
He's the biggest guy in your average fable. Look at this big old fat Mabel.
So good. He should
I am
be
such a
on cable.
freestyler. Yeah. Yeah. So big, he's too big for network TV. He'll only fit on cable. Take a fucking look at Mabel.
You're better than Oscar.
Thank you.
How
I was
old
going to get
this?
mad, but then I appreciate it.
I can insult anyone I want as long as I praise you at the same time.
Well, it reminded me of Hanalei because she's 2, and so her default answer to everything is no.
Yeah,
like you can ask her anything, and she says no. And so it's always funny when you sort of like, all right, you want boobs because she still breastfeeds, and she goes no, yes, runs over.
Oh, God, Adam Bomb versus some geek.
Not from me, by the way.
Thank you, Brian.
I got a question about this Adam Bomb.
Oh, no.
Yes, his family's name is Bomb, and they named him Adam.
No, his fucking gimmick, Vinny, is that like he's not a bomb, obviously.
No.
Okay, but he's a victim because he's got the yellow eyes. Like he's been
suffering from radiation poisoning.
yeah, he's been stricken with radiation.
Coughing blood now.
So okay, he's Adam Bomb. He's got yellow eyes. He's irradiated. And he comes out with this fucking guy with a tennis racket.
Yeah.
Why in the fuck is Johnny Polo the manager of fucking Adam Bomb?
I don't have an answer.
It doesn't even make any sense.
I don't have an answer.
Shouldn't he wear like a white outfit and be like a nuclear scientist?
Should have a Geiger counter.
Like Dr. Johnny Polo. And
every time
he's got
he
a
puts
fucking radiation counter or something. Instead, he's out there in a fucking Hawaiian shirt and he's got a racket. I'm like, Johnny Polo,
mallet.
whatever it is, Polo Mallet. It doesn't fucking matter, Vinny. He's a sportsman.
No,
What is he managing Atom Bomb for?
he had a badminton racket this week.
Did he? Oh, all right.
Yes.
God. And this Atom Bomb, by the way, God bless the guy. But I have never seen anybody who, when you watch him, he doesn't actually do anything wrong,
Sure.
but he does nothing right. You know what I mean? It's like I've never once seen him have a good match. Have you? Can you remember one good Atom Bomb match?
As Adam Bomb?
Yeah.
No.
Or even
He got over it as Wrath.
a little bit, but it was all squashes.
But they were good squashes. It was much better than this squash.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I guess. It's hard to screw up a squash, bruh.
He did. I just watched this.
It was just not exciting.
It was very sloppy. And it was not terribly exciting. Savage is getting very upset with about his friend Crush. He's getting very surly with Heenan. Started to threaten him.
Yeah, because Heenan's talking about how he came back from the back crying.
Yep. And Bomb wins with a top rope clothesline and something like a power bomb. It wasn't very good. Next week.
That was it. That's what happened, everybody.
It dawned on my wife that Johnny Polo guy looks familiar. Where have I seen him before?
A badminton tournament.
Yeah. I gave her all the clues. She still didn't get it.
Wow.
What
were the clues?
ECW did she watch?
He wore flannel.
Was she watching Kimono
He
Wanalea?
was morose.
I watched a lot
He
of
lost that
ECW
U.S.
back then.
title to Goldberg.
That's true.
Yeah.
Had a lot of comic book T-shirts. Next week on Raw, the 1-2-3 Kid in action.
Oh, good.
Men on a Mission debut.
Oh, excellent.
Shawn Michaels versus Marty Jannetty.
Dude, this sounds like a good show.
And Jerry Lawler hosts the King's Court with his special guest, Tiny Tim.
At which point they said he is one of the biggest. I think they actually said the biggest. The biggest star in all of entertainment, I believe they said.
But
well, they were joking about that part, but his wedding on the Johnny Carson show was a monster deal.
Well, sure, in fucking 1977.
Also, 69 actually.
Oh,
but yes,
wow.
But still. I don't know what he had done since then.
Not a lot.
No. And then they
tiptoeing.
Not tiptoeing. Yeah. And then they cut to a fan holding a sign that reads, "Real Awesome Wrestling."
They lied.
No, Craig!
That too.
Of course Craig didn't notice.
And it was
him and Ed.
It was spelled wrong.
What are you talking about?
He spelled awesome wrong.
Did he?
Yes.
I didn't notice.
AWSOME.
Yeah. Awesome.
And they proudly zoomed in on it. Look at this guy's sign. Really awesome wrestling. Maybe Vince can't spell either. Maybe that's a problem. Or done.
To be
that
fair,
was
I might
Raw.
have turned the show off at that time.
Raw was okay, but not bad as I.
Exactly, Vinny.
It was
exactly.
It's always a good nostalgia watch.
Sure. There's always something funny to talk about.
There is plenty to talk about.
Like really awesome wrestling.
It's good material there.
Well, everybody, that's it for today. Vinny and I are going to be back on Thursday. All right. Shall we do this Raw show? We don't have any poems. I don't have the Lanny Poffo book here.
I don't have any haikus or smoking PSAs to read, so I guess we'll just jump into this Retro Raw here.
Hey, this Retro Raw had some good shit on it, dude.
This Raw, after the opener, this shows a thumbs up no matter what.
Sure.
We watched WWF Raw Season 1, Episode 26, July 19th, 1993. The Lex Luger Call to Action campaign is kicked off. So they've taken Lex Luger, they put him in some Stars and Stripes Zubaz, they put him on a bus, and he's driving around the country, taking pictures next to famous things like the Liberty Bell, and signing autographs. I guess there's more of this later, but you see Lex doing a speech here about it's not cool to be patriotic these days, but the USA is still the land of opportunity. And then we are told Lex Luger wants your support to get a title shot.
Yeah, the call to action is he wants a match against Yokozuna. Mm-hmm. And they announced on the show that next week, Jack Tunney is going to make a ruling about whether Lex Luger should get a shot at Yokozuna. And in storyline, Lex Luger apparently is not in line for a shot at Yokozuna, even though he slammed him on the USS Intrepid. But because he got a bus and he's driving around the country taking pictures at historic landmarks, that is enough to get him a shot at Yokozuna at SummerSlam.
I remember the Lex Express, of course, but I forgot the motivation behind it. I thought he got the match first and then wanted this bus tour to drum up support or inspire himself or something. No. He's trying to earn a title shot by begging fans to beg for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Vinny, we don't know. I mean, I don't remember all of the details. We're going to know in a couple of weeks. But I would presume that Jack Tunney gives him the match, and then the Lex Express tour becomes what you remember it being.
Maybe
which is the tour around the world to drum up support for now his win.
He was literally...
What a weird bus, by the way. This fucking ghetto bus. Like, it was just like... When you're a kid, it's like the size of like an aircraft carrier. And then you look at it nowadays, and it's like a school bus. It's got some flags on it. It says Lex Luger. He flexes his muscles on top of this bus. I'm like, God, this is just like... It's so wacky.
There's a shot
Not even like a nice tour bus. It's like just a bus.
There's a shot where they say, "Here's Lex on his bus." And instead of sitting there like reading the Constitution or something, he's trying to get the blinds and the windows to work, but they won't go up and down.
Well, fuck, he's probably never been on a bus with blinds before.
He may never have.
I haven't.
He was literally shaking hands and kissing babies.
Yeah.
I don't know if he kissed him. Like, he looked at him.
He should have.
But he didn't actually kiss him.
Maybe
he was kind of like, This baby's kind of cute. I don't know if I want to kiss this baby.
Maybe they told him to kiss the baby. The baby was smelly or something, and they said, "I'm not kissing this." Tonight on Raw, Shawn Michaels defends the Intercontinental title against Marty Jannetty. Mom debuts. And I don't know how long this lasts, but they are called Mom more than they are called Mom.
I hope it lasts a while. Man.
And the King's Court, Jerry Lawler hosts special guest Tiny Tim.
Oh, he sure did.
But our opener is, in fact, Shawn versus Marty for the Intercontinental title. And essentially, they went out there and I don't want to say half-assed it, but they were not giving 100%, but it was still like the best match on Raw all of 93.
Mm-hmm. I thought I wouldn't say they gave like 100%, but they had a pretty fucking good match.
They could have done better.
Yeah, Shawn was doing his Ric Flair deal, which is give it back, give it back, give it back, give it back. And literally the first couple minutes of this match, Marty squashed Shawn Michaels and pinned him with a DDT. Yeah. But then Shawn had his foot on the ropes. Yeah. And, it was funny because, like, you would think that Diesel would have put his foot on the ropes and then told the referee. But Shawn, like, he just got his feet on the ropes. And then, Diesel yells at the referee and they go to commercial and come back and the match is restarted. And then it was just like a Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty back and forth match, heat by Shawn, everything like that. I thought it was very good. I know some people thought this was better than that first match they had on Raw. I don't think so. I think the match where Marty won the title was the best. I thought that the Royal Rumble match was not as good. I thought this one was probably maybe the second best. I mean, they can't have a bad match, even if they don't try. No. So this was great television.
So I liked everything but the finish. I also noticed that I'm almost positive a young Francine was in the front row taking pictures all evening, especially of Shawn.
Entirely possible.
Well, that's ironic because I think it was Bobby Heenan was talking about how all the ladies love Shawn Michaels, and Randy Savage goes, "All the ladies I know hate him." Well, apparently, he didn't know Francine. Well, she was taking a lot of pictures of old HBK.
Here on the WrestlingClassics.com, there's a mention here. Francine.
This information is there? You got to be kidding.
This is from April 2010. Rob from Iowa posted. He's watching the episode of Raw with the Quebecers and the Steiners, and Francine is in the first row.
Okay.
So she's probably there a year earlier, too. So there you go. Good eye, Craig.
Well, she's hard to miss.
You spotted the... How old is she then?
Apparently not. I didn't notice her.
Well,
I was watching the wrestling.
Yeah,
so
me too.
The finish, as Craig noted, sucks. Marty hits the rocker dropper, and he preps for the super kick, but then when Shawn gets to his feet, Shawn stumbles backwards and gets caught in the ropes, the Andre the Giant deal. So Marty decides, I'm going to charge at this guy. He hits the ropes and runs at him. Shawn escapes the ropes and dodges. Marty takes a spectacular bump to the floor. And Diesel, Shawn's bodyguard, throws him back in, and Shawn just crawls over and gets on top and pins him. So
really very little cheating here.
That was it?
Well, there was the cheating when Shawn was putting his feet on the ropes for leverage. Mm-hmm. And
little interference.
He was literally planking over the referee, and the referee somehow had no idea. Yeah. But, Diesel was not really involved in the finish. I mean, he threw Marty back in, but, I mean, in storyline, if he hadn't, Marty would have got counted out and lost anyway. And he wasn't involved in the foot on the ropes deal. So Shawn basically, he beat Marty Jannetty on his own. So that was interesting. This, by the way, was Shawn at his fattest, and I think he's talked about this before. He didn't say it exactly the way that Raven did, but he was mentioning there was a period where he was attempting to gain weight, and he just got fat. And I can relate because I had the same thing happen to me. Well, as did Raven.
Well, Fat Shawn still went out here and had like a 20-plus minute match and went like 3.5 stars. And I was also, at the same time, I was thinking he could have done better. So that's fine. I would be remiss, by the way, if I did not note that Vince, by the way, was on fire in this match by his own standards. There's like backslides going on. I was like, look at this clever maneuver. But he also referred to Diesel in the early stages of this match as a cool dude with a loose mood.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what that means exactly.
I have an idea. Might involve trout slapping.
Oh, Brian. Vince McMahon interviews Money Incorporated. I was just thinking about this the other day because Money Incorporated was all over this show going into Mania and then pretty much disappeared since, except for that time they called out Razor. But DiBiase's only got like a year left in his wrestling career. So I don't know when we get to his last match. It was not advertised as his last match, but it's coming up here pretty soon. So Vince question, I forget exactly what he said, but he's like he buries them for losing the titles to the Steiners. This is a complete dick. I would not blame them for punching him here. But Irwin says, yeah, we lost. We have a rematch on Superstars, and the Steiner brothers are going to be losers. And speaking of losers, Ted DiBiase says, I can't think of a bigger loser than Razor Ramon. And Bobby Heenan cackles. And DiBiase buries Razor. He lost to a nobody. He got the kid back in the ring. The kid just stole his money. So Razor finally comes out to defend himself. Ted is not backing down. Says, I know you're hurting for work. I can pay you to clean my toilets or polish my shoes or wax my car. So Razor's in there saying he won't work for them. I know we've mentioned this before, but both guys in Money Incorporated, but especially DiBiase, are so sneaky big. Like, DiBiase looks almost as big as Razor Ramon, who's huge. He's just a big human being.
Well, it's because he was a big human being, but he didn't have like a great physique.
He was not a bodybuilder.
So when you just saw his physique, it was like, he's a athletic looking guy, but you didn't look at him and think that he was like some big giant pro wrestler. But then when you actually see him next to a tall dude, it's like, my God, this guy's huge. Like when I used to watch, we talked about Demolition. I used to watch Demolition, and they were obviously supposed to be Road Warrior ripoffs, but Hawk was all jacked up and kind of ripped, and Animal was a big power lifter looking dude, and Axe and Smash were they didn't have those physiques. And so you would look at them and you'd like, why do they compare these guys to the Road Warriors? But I would bet if you actually put them all next to each other, Bill Eadie is probably like way bigger than Hawk. Way bigger than Hawk. And I'm sure that, Smash as well was a pretty big dude, but there were a lot of deceptively large people. You know who was deceptively large? I met him the first time I ever met Mick Foley.
Yes.
We were at a show. And my God, this dude lumbers up, and he was a fucking mountain of a man. And not, it wasn't like, he was heavy or anything like that. He was just a big dude.
His head is big, his frame is big, his hands are big.
Yeah, and actually a lot of those guys, when Tim used to bring in some of these guys that were, a little bit removed from WWE TV, and, you'd be in the locker room, and it'd be all these normal blokes, and then one of these old WWE guys would come in, and they're just fucking gigantic human beings. So, yeah, DiBiase, big dude.
Big dude. So eventually a fight starts, and Razor kicks their asses and leaves before they can regroup and double team him. So DiBiase vows to embarrass Razor. He wants that 1-2-3 kid. He's going to wipe the mat with that kid and show Mr. Machismo what a real man can do. So I kind of remember this. I remember where it's going, obviously, but I had forgotten how DiBiase got involved, which is he's just such a dick. That something bad happened to Razor Ramon, and DiBiase had to bring it up and make fun of him, even though it was none of his business at all. That's awesome. Mom versus Rich Myers and I believe his name was Quinteres.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Man, I like this Men on a Mission.
Really?
I like this act. It'll probably get old in like a week.
Oh, it's old.
But I was entertained. I mean,
it is even worse than I
Max
remember.
Caster. He's no Max Caster. But, he had a couple of, it rhymed.
Did it?
And then they had a very generic nothing happening match. And then at the end, they're going to do their finish off the ropes. And so what Mabel does is he lifts this dude up and he kind of gives him like the World's Strongest Slam style slam.
Only
to
he
put
doesn't
him in
go down with it.
Well, yeah, but he's doing it to put him in the right position. Because then they go to the middle rope, and then Mo jumps on Mabel's back, and they do the combined splash, whatever they call it, and he pins the guy. But man, Vince fucking buried this body slam. He buried this body slam. I can't remember what he said. It was like,
I'll tell you what he said.
What you got? You wrote down?
Mabel with sort of a half-hearted slam. I laughed my ass off. And then he went on thinking about how maybe he's showing the guy mercy.
Yes, he was showing the guy
This
mercy.
was his debut.
Yes. This was...
All right, so
else.
your claim here that I wasn't even going to read this, but your claim that Oscar's rap rhymed.
Oh, you wrote it down?
It's the MEN to the O to the N. MISSION.
Hold on, start over again.
All
The
right.
MEN to the O to the N. Okay,
Yes.
men on.
MISSION.
Mission.
And he rhymed N with N.
Well, that rhymes.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go again. Who's number one? Men on a mission.
That should have been men on a mission.
You're welcome to like Oscar if you liked. I don't think Oscar's a good rapper. I don't think Men on a Mission are good wrestlers. I think the gimmick sucks. And they're going to be around for years.
I'm not going to argue too much about any of that. But you know what I did notice, Vinny? I noticed that every time that big, gigantic Mabel did a move, these fans went crazy.
He's a
Because
big dude.
They enjoy seeing a big dude squish people. It is a timeless archetype. Big dude squishing little man. It'll never get old. In the history of this business, I know people complain about WWE, all they look at is size and everything like that. And they're right in the sense that, it doesn't make any sense to have all 6'4", 250-pound guys, and it's just like a bunch of clones. But, like, you should have a big giant. The problem is they want their giants to be athletic. They want them to run fast and do all this other shit. Fans just want to see a big, giant, fat guy squash little guys. That's what they want to see, and it will never, ever get old.
You said that the fans were going crazy for Mabel. Vince McMahon. Will you look at the size of Mabel? Look at
he
him.
was big, dude.
Oh,
I
he's
mean,
a
fuck,
huge
we talk
man.
about Mick Foley. If that guy fucking walked in this condo, I don't think he can make it through the front door.
Yeah. He was massive. He was a massive, truly massive human being. Did we mention, by the way, that the camera missed the finish because they were zooming in on Oscar calling out the head shrinkers?
Yep.
This was a fail all around. Although, when the match is over and Oscar's doing more rapping and the music's playing, and then they cut to Gene for the SummerSlam report, and Gene is dancing, that was a win.
Is that what he was doing?
Yes.
He
That's
was
what I'm calling
moving
it.
his body in a something resembling a rhythmic manner.
So, SummerSlam report. There's two matches signed now. Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler is one. And the other, new announced, Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez in a rest in peace match. What is a rest in peace match?
But only Undertaker knows the stip.
Only the Undertaker knows what the rules are.
Harvey
Let's see
Whippleman is one fucking horrible manager. Jesus Christ. Oh, I got this contract. It's for a rest in peace match. And then, like, Gonzalez roars and kind of like Chewbacca, where, Harvey Whippleman is the only guy that understands him. And he goes, well, it doesn't say what the stipulation means. It's just a rest in peace match. Should I sign it? And they fucking signed it.
Mm-hmm.
Christ.
And what about Mr. Hughes, by the way? He stole the urn, doesn't even get a SummerSlam match.
Well,
That's a good point.
maybe they're holding that off.
I guess so. Maybe that's Survivor Series. We'll see how it goes. We'll let it play out. Also, this weekend on Superstars, whatever, Jack Tunney will give his decision on Lex Luger's plea for a title shot. And if that match happens, Gene says, I'll want to be there to see it in Detroit.
Well, get on the bus, brother.
Yep, here's the bus. Here is the extended video of the bus. And Lex is doing pictures and autographs. He's at the Liberty Bell.
He's flexing his muscles on the bus.
He's climbed up on top of the bus and took his shirt off to flex for a while, as one does.
No one does that. There's a trolley here at Cannon Beach. You think I've ever wanted to climb on top of that fucking thing and flex? Not one time.
It would make your daughters laugh.
Kind of. Basically go, why is he flaunting his naked body?
Are those the words you would use?
That's what she said when Randy Orton walked on the screen one day.
Oh.
I told that story. I was watching some pay-per-view. Randy Orton makes his entrance. She just randomly walked in. She looked at the TV for like 5 seconds. She goes, why is he flaunting his naked body? And she walked out. That was her only time she's ever watched any wrestling whatsoever.
Wow.
Sick of it.
Your wife would get a kick out of it, that's for sure.
Maybe.
So Lex is going on Regis and Kathy Lee, although Vince is very confused about what day that would be. Bash and Booger still around.
Ugh.
Fighting Scott Dupre. Booger power slams him and teabags him and wins.
Excuse me?
I'm not joking.
Did
That's
he
what happened.
trout slap him?
I think so. I'd have to look this up again.
God damn, I think he did.
You're
What
right.
a fucking... This is the weirdest fucking world we live in. This shit happens all the time. He fucking trout slapped him, dude. Right after that show we just did. Maybe Regal is following along and he's a week ahead. I hadn't thought of that. That actually would make sense.
Per your definition, he skipped the first part before the slapping.
Well, we don't know that.
Before the
sure.
match.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be intriguing.
I don't know what happened back there.
There's a feud I haven't seen before.
There's also multiple definitions.
Yeah. I'm content with sticking with teabagging him. I think that's what happened here.
Excuse me?
That's what happened.
I'm content with teabagging him.
With saying Booger teabagged him. I mean, that'd been bad phrasing on my part. Yeah. Could have worded that better. So while we're on the topic, Vince is plugging a movie on the USA Network called Caught in the Act. And he says, "Isn't that Pee Wee Herman's movie?" I laughed and I laughed and I laughed.
This Heenan's pretty good.
He didn't fella knows what he's doing.
You know, there's youngsters out there going, huh?
Yeah, there's youngsters who don't even know who Pee Wee Herman is.
Sure.
Although if you're a youngster and you don't know what Pee Wee Herman is and you heard that joke and you heard the guy's name is Pee Wee Herman, you can probably figure it out without knowing what's going on.
Yes,
Especially with all the talk of trout slapping.
He was roughing up the suspect in a theater.
Next week on Raw, it's Bret Hart versus Bam Bam Bigelow in a King of the Ring final.
I've never been so
rematch.
disgusted with both of you.
Alrighty.
Last couple of days, God.
What? I sat here in silence as you read all those.
No, you didn't. You laughed
I-
uproariously. You were egging me on.
That's
I
not
listened
true.
back.
That's
yeah,
not
you were
true.
egging me on. You were winding me up with that laughter.
No,
Yeah, you were telling me to read one more.
Not a bit of judgment.
I am not anti-judgment, Craig. I'm very much about judging.
Okay, well, it's on then.
Jerry Lawler.
What's next week? The delay. I'm sorry.
Jerry Lawler is hosting King's Court. He has mic issues to start, but they get it all settled. And then we got Tiny Tim. And Google him, everybody. I'm not going to get into this right now.
I'll get into it a little bit.
All right.
So it's Tiny Tim. He was a kind of, I guess he was sort of a famous guy. Like, he's one of those guys that, like, everybody kind of knew who he was, but I don't know if you would really call him, like, famous. You know what I'm saying?
I think
you know what I'm talking about?
He was sort of famous for being famous. I do think his one song actually was a hit, ironically.
Yeah, it was.
Well, yeah, it was a hit. Yeah, it was definitely a hit. When, by the way, they played the song. Like, of all the songs to have the rights to, they have Tiptoe Through the Tulips. And they're playing it, and he comes out.
Well,
and,
if he played it on the Tonight Show, maybe they have the rights from that, because it's Peacock.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
So he comes down to the ring, or he comes to Lawler's set, which is not in the ring, and he's got his little ukulele, and he's famous for his very high pitched singing voice. But then Lawler asks him a question, and he talks like Craig. He's got this very low, deep baritone as he answers.
I thought it was a Peacock edit.
And so, Lawler starts making fun of him. And he's making fun of him in such a way, and Tiny Tim is responding in such a way that it's almost like, did they smarten up Tiny Tim, or is this poor fucker out here just being buried on national television and humiliated? And then, of course, at the end, Lawler gets really angry because, the fans are chanting Burger King. Lawler says he hates being called Burger King. And he says, Tiny Tim, do you think I'm the Burger King? And Tiny Tim goes, no, you're the Dairy Queen. And so, of course, Lawler's so angry at this, and he breaks the ukulele. And, man, once this dude broke the ukulele, this Tiny Tim turned into the biggest fucking gimmick you've ever seen in your life. He's grabbing his chest. He's already got a tissue in his hand to wipe away his tears. He falls on the ground like Hanalei. She does this all the time, this dramatic. I'm like, God, look at this guy. What a fucking worker this Tiny Tim is. And unfortunately, he passed away just a few years later. But, yeah, this segment, like, people talk about this being an all-time horrible segment, and the people that say that, they don't watch Raw nowadays. Like, this was just your average celebrity segment. I mean, I didn't think anything of it. It was just there. They had a segment with Tiny Tim. Got his ukulele destroyed.
So
I've seen way worse.
Get this. The song was originally used in Sinkin' in the Bathtub, the first Looney Tunes cartoon short in 1930.
Wow.
I don't think it was Tiny Tim's version.
Yeah, he's not young, but he wasn't that old.
No. I think he died in his early 60s.
This would have been 63 years after that cartoon. He would not look like an 83-year-old man here.
No, he did not.
Well, he wasn't, for sure.
Yeah.
He was not 83.
He did the song in 1968.
Okay. I was watching this trying to figure out what the point of it all was. Like,
I still don't know.
Well, it was not effective, but there was a reason. He was there to plug something. But he's deep into this interview. He starts to mention what he's up to these days. He says, "I've got a new radio show." I'm thinking, okay, he's in New York. Maybe he's going to be doing something with Stern or something with Imers, one of these big radio stars. No, he has a radio show debuting July 25th in, swear to God, Des Moines, Iowa.
It's a big radio market, Vinny.
Now listen, I mean no offense to the good people of Des Moines, Iowa, but he's in that market and that market only, and so they flew him into Raw to plug it here, and I don't know.
I liked it when they're talking about, oh, you remember when you got married on the Tonight Show, and they're playing "Tiptoe Through the Tulips," which was a hit song, and then Lawler goes, "Yeah, so what do you do nowadays?" And Tiny Tim goes, "I walk the streets and play my ukulele." What? You're homeless? This is your plug? I'm homeless. I walk the streets and play my ukulele.
I don't have to be homeless. You can have goes home to at night.
God.
Hopefully
I walk
that's not
the
a
streets and
euphemism.
play my ukulele. I've been asked to plug things a lot of times in interviews, and that is yet to come up with what I've got coming up next. Well, I'm walking the streets of Bothell and, talking to myself in a mic. That's what I'm doing nowadays.
That's
Those
coming.
days of Nancy Grace, long gone.
Yeah.
Now I walk the streets mumbling.
Main event: the 1-2-3 kid without his eyebrows versus my new favorite jobber, Chris Duffy.
Without his eyebrows?
They're growing back.
What happened to his eyebrows?
You never heard this?
Oh,
Perfect.
no. He got ribbed by Perfect?
He fell asleep. I think he fell asleep backstage, and Perfect shaved off one eyebrow.
What a horrible person.
And kid wakes up, oh shit, he shaves off the other eyebrow. Now, it wouldn't be that big a deal, except this was the day the kid had his photo shoot for the action figure. So if you go by the 1993 or 1994 1-2-3 kid action figure, there's the little toy, and there's a big picture of the kid without his eyebrows and two fists.
Bro, you've got to be kidding me.
You've never
They
heard
couldn't
this?
draw eyebrows into a fucking action figure. Are you kidding me?
It's the photo.
The toy has eyebrows. The photo of Sean Waltman does not.
I see. All right. They couldn't Photoshop that in.
They did not do
God. Was Mr. Perfect on the action figure
He may have
marketing
been.
crew?
He may have been. So this kid and Chris Duffy, and Vince is bellowing, "What an outstanding matchup this is going to be!" And I laughed, but goddamn, he was right. So Chris Duffy's gear. Let's start with his gear. All black single strap singlets. He's got the one strap like Andre the Giant, and then black tights, shiny gold boots, and then super bright, I think like tie-dye trunks and knee pads. This dude looks awesome.
You know what my takeaway was from this match was how much Randy Savage really put over the 1-2-3 kid. And I realized that Savage, he was a babyface announcer, so that was his job to put over the kid. But he put him over after a particularly impressive, fast, nice high spot. And he did it in such a way that it was it came off as totally sincere. And, one of the things about Savage is, people remember, Spider-Man Savage and the end of WCW Savage and how absolutely huge and jacked up he was. But he was never like a big jacked up dude. And he was a big star in the 80s, which actually tells you how talented he was and charismatic and what a good worker, because he did not have a huge jacked up body. And in his frame, he was a smaller guy. So I think that unlike a Vince, who was always looking at the biggest dudes and everything like that, I think Savage was one of those guys who he could see talent. And, Sean Waltman, he was a tall guy and everything, but, his gimmick was a kid. His gimmick was that he was pretty skinny. But Savage recognized that he was a great worker. And so he put him over as a great worker because he was. Whereas with Vince, I'm sure it was all, we got this idea now. We could have one skinny guy, and it'll be the 1, 2, 3 kid. But like Savage actually saw real talent in Sean Waltman.
So Waltman comes out here, and up to this point in the storyline, he has been playing a geek and doing a tremendous job. Now, you can't be a geek forever. It doesn't work. So this was like a redemption for the kid, because he came out here and he was a badass. And he's flying around, he's kicking this dude's ass, and Duffy got just a little heat just so he can make a comeback. And it's a point where kid runs into the corner, and Duffy gets the boot up, and he's a kid takes the kick in the face, he's selling, and Duffy pumps his fist and goes, yeah! Chris Duffy is awesome. And then Kid continued to destroy him and hit a big top rope leg drop and won. This was an awesome squash.
Yeah, the other thing that I thought was funny about this match, I have now completely forgotten in the middle of your rant, but I will try to bring it up again in a second, Vinny, so continue.
Well, I got more
on.
to say. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
So Money Incorporated comes out the entranceway to scout Kid, because DiBiase is going to fight him next week. Razor Ramon comes off the other side, and who knows what he's up to. He's got heat with both these guys. So Kid gets his win, but he sees Money Incorporated by that entryway. He sees Razor Ramon on the other side of the ring. He's already had a match. He's not 100%. He says, fuck this. He goes through the crowd because he's smart, and the people all love him, and so they welcome him that way. And so Razor and Ted go face-to-face, and they teased fighting.
So that's what it was. It was DiBiase, because if you recall, DiBiase is the one that challenged the 1, 2, 3 Kid, because he wants to humiliate Razor by showing Razor that he can beat the 1, 2, 3 Kid, who had beaten Razor Ramon. Correct. So in storyline, DiBiase has made the challenge, and the announcers are talking about, well, we're going to find out today if the Kid will accept this match with Ted DiBiase. And I thought, this guy's the most protected fucking guy on this roster, because they run every match by this kid. You ever notice that? It's like, this kid totally picks all of his opponents. He's totally in the driver's seat. It's never Vince is going to sign him, or, what's his name? Jack Tunney. It's always everyone challenges the kid. Will he accept? He was like an early Brock Lesnar. He picks his fights.
There's a comparison I've never heard before.
Yeah, you never thought of that, did you?
I haven't.
He decides when and where he's going to work, this kid. Everybody else just has to do what they're told.
It's funny because this was the quote-unquote main event, and it's like, huh. But then the angle was pretty good at the end, so it all made sense. Apparently this Vince guy sometimes knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I was going to ask what would be a better main event, but I guess they had Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty for the Intercontinental title. I guess you want to open with the hot match.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes. It's like Rampage, yeah. Next week is Bret Hart versus Bam Bam Bigelow, with Bret Hart's parents may be in town.
God, the video package they had for this was awesome.
Yes, it was, because it was all about the first match they had at the King of the Ring, which is great. And Bret's great, and Bam Bam's great, and so, yeah, and they're just going to fight again. Apparently, I've forgotten this. There was like a controversial finish. Somehow, Bam Bam thought he deserved to win, so he's out for revenge. Whatever. They're going to have a great match. That's all I need to know. And we have one last shot of the Lex Express. It's driving down the freeway, slow, holding up traffic, and people are zipping around it. This is not making me want to cheer for Lex Luger.
One quick note. Last week, I had said something about Jerry Lawler fighting Bret Hart but it ended up being Shawn Michaels and this, that, and the other thing. And you guys corrected me. Man, we had it all wrong.
Yeah, we're like off by years.
Yeah. They had 2 or 3 different feuds, and we had them all confused. Apparently, he's supposed to wrestle at SummerSlam, but I guess Doink takes his place. And then again at Survivor Series, it's all over the road. We totally screwed it up.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. We did.
We'll fix it in the weeks going forward.
Screw that up. Try to figure out what the... I remember the controversial finish, but I don't remember it at the same time. Let's see. tournament final. It was, Luna Vachon hit him with a chair. And then Bigelow pinned him. And then the second referee ran out and showed what had happened, and they restarted the match. So
I see.
That was a controversial finish there.
Well, there you go then.
All right, well, that's it. Thursday, amazingly, the delay went away. I don't even know why, but I'm still going to call these jerks tomorrow. So
we watched WWF Raw number 27, July 26th, 1993. Doink cuts a promo on the Macho Man. Calls him the Macho Boy. Says, if you're a real good Macho Boy.
M's fighting words when you're a Macho Man.
If you're a real good Macho Boy, I might have a little surprise for you tonight. They plug one match, and it's the opener, so I don't know why they bothered. It's Bam Bam Bigelow versus Bret Hart in a rematch of the King of the Ring finals. Stu and Helen Hart are in the balcony, actually. So they're having this match, and Bret's awesome, and Bam Bam is awesome, and it's a very good match. And last week they had that awesome Shawn Marty match, and all I could think was that match must have done very, very well, and so now they're giving high-profile stars plenty of time to have a good match. What a novel and innovative concept. So this goes through 2 commercial breaks, and it's finally picking up at the end, and Bret's making this comeback, and Vince McMahon gets to say, back, body drop, and a seesaw matchup back and forth. So all of his favorites in here. And then finally Bret goes to the sharpshooter. But then Jerry Lawler, that evil bastard Jerry Lawler, goes to interview Stu and Helen and make fun of them. And they're trying to go line for line, barb for barb with Jerry Lawler.
May I jump in for a moment, Vinny?
This is a 10-3 round.
Okay, so everything Vinny said is absolutely correct. Bret's going for the sharpshooter, and Jerry Lawler comes out to yell at his parents, okay? So if you didn't watch this show, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, as soon as Jerry Lawler comes out, Bret Hart is distracted, and he leaps from the ring, and he goes to beat up Jerry Lawler and save his parents or whatever. That's what you're thinking, right? Because that's everything you've ever seen on Raw. That doesn't happen. Jerry Lawler begins to go back and forth with Stu and Helen Hart for like 5 minutes. He's just going on and on and on. And the ironic thing is, Stu and Helen had comebacks, and amazingly, you could actually hear what they were saying. Like, usually everyone makes fun of Stu because they're like, like you can't understand what he's saying. But Stu actually had lines that you could hear what he was saying. But for some reason, Lawler was acting like he couldn't hear him, and he was just like moving on past whatever. Like, if you're going to do a back and forth, like, listen to what the guy says, and then, you have a comeback. Lawler would just move on to the next joke, even though Stu had some sort of comeback to what he said. So this is going on and on. So in the ring, like, Bret looks up and he sees Lawler up there, but he keeps wrestling. And they're going back and forth, and they're doing a match in the ring, and there's another match going on in the balcony, a verbal debate. But I'm watching this thinking, this is good because Bret is not an idiot babyface who, as soon as something happens, he's distracted, and then, he immediately runs off or whatever. That's what I thought, foolishly. So it's like 5 minutes. They continue wrestling. Lawler and Stu and Helen are going back and forth, and I'm waiting for a finish or something like that. And instead, after 5 minutes of still wrestling, then it was like, now Bret decides to leave. Right?
Yeah.
What the fuck were you waiting for, dude?
I don't know. He tried to leave once, and Bam Bam started fighting him and dragged him back. So he went back to fighting Bam Bam, but he had many, many other opportunities to go break up this interview and opted not to until it was far too late.
Until he finally did.
Until he just did.
God. If you're gonna go, and the funny thing was, it took so long for him to decide to go up there that Lawler had given up on the verbal debate and voluntarily left. It wasn't even like Bret ran up there and chased him away.
Well,
Lawler went back and forth. He buried the parents, and finally he had enough. He was escorted out by a security guy who almost beat up a little kid that was trying to hug Lawler or something like that. And finally, when Lawler is long gone, then Brett decides, now I'm going to run up there. And he goes up there and he hugs his mother.
That's not quite true. Brett left the ring and got counted out. And Lawler saw this and left. Now, it took Brett like 3 minutes to get up there.
In this tiny building?
Yes.
What the fuck took him so long to get upstairs?
I don't have an answer for that one.
John Moxley can be at the top of a building with 16,000 people in it, and he can get from there to the ring in about 22 seconds. Bret Hart leaves the ring in the Manhattan Center, and it's 3 minutes before he can get to the upper balcony.
Well, they may only have one stairwell and maybe the other side of the building. I don't know. So this happened. There was a very, very good match with a lot of silliness at the end, and there you go. Finally, Brett arrives to say hi to Stu and Helen. So I don't know if you were timing this, how long we're talking about this match when we started, but no joke, this episode is half over.
Yeah, this was 30 minutes of the show.
Yeah. We have a SummerSlam report with Gene Okerlund. The Lex Luger-Yokozuna title match is now official, but Lex Luger must wear an elbow pad over the steel bar in his forearm. And he mentions again that Bret Hart will face Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler, in my opinion, is a complete jerk, Gene says. He hopes Bret's family is there for this match. And, of course...
I don't. After what we just saw, that's the last thing I want is for them to be at this match.
And, of course, the Rest in Peace match, where only The Undertaker knows the rules, and he isn't talking. What an odd way to promote this match.
It's mind-boggling.
We don't know what the rules are. Or what
hey,
the
you know
are.
what? You know what? At least it's the heel manager and the heel that are the fucking idiots. They're the ones that signed this contract for a match where they don't even know what the stipulation is all about. Nowadays, it would be the babyface that would sign that contract sight unseen.
Mr. Hughes versus Ross Greenberg. The highlight of this by a billion miles was Vince recapping how Mr. Hughes beat up Paul Bearer and stole the urn. And Vince says, and this, as God is my witness, this is a quote, I have never seen anyone diss, as they say, The Undertaker, like Mr. Hughes has done. Vince McMahon said diss in 1993.
There was another thing. I forget what guys he mentioned, but Bobby Heenan was saying he was a big fan. Who did he say he was a big fan of? Do you remember this? It would have basically been like the equivalent of like Laurel and Hardy, some super old act, and Vince is disgusting. He goes, "What do you say?"
I'm trying to remember. I think it was music. He liked Jim Neighbors.
Oh, that's right, Jim Neighbors, which actually wasn't that far removed from 1993.
And he was a good singer.
It's probably 25, 30 years or so.
Singer. And Burl Ives, I think, was the other one.
That was a little further back. But the point is, like, he mentions these names, and Vince is just disgusted. He goes, how contemporary. And I was like, what a fucking irony that was. Yes. God damn, he used fucking big time in like 2000 or 2008 or some shit.
Yeah. So Hughes squashed this guy. It was terrible. Bossman slams him onto his head, beats up the Black Wreath. The WrestleMania, the album premiere party. We are told there was a stampede at Kmart locations across America.
You know what's funny is we haven't plugged this yet, but Big Vinny V, as he is referred to.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not even sure Jericho knows what your actual name is.
Yeah,
but you, me, and Lance were on Talk is Jericho to talk old school wrestling albums.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
And the irony of turning on this show. And there's the 1993 version of their wrestling album.
I'm going to go out on a limb.
God, it was like that. We spent like 10 minutes talking about the covers of like the Pile Driver album, and then you see the cover of this album, and it's like just everyone, just like 8 guys just sitting there looking at this thing. It's like they don't have an instrument. They don't have, they're not in some costume. It's just like, here's Mr. Perfect in his singlet looking at the camera. here's whoever, Lex Luger, looking at the camera. And I was just, God, this is so nothing compared to what we were reviewing.
Yeah, I do not think we'll be invited back to discuss this album.
Unlikely.
Although, they're commenting on this and how Randy Savage has one of these songs. And Vince says, imagine that! Macho Man Randy Savage! A recording star!
Oh, man.
So maybe we'll do that album sometime.
If we could do Be a Man.
Just that one song?
Well, no, there were a couple of funny ones on that album, but you know what's funny? I don't want to jump ahead in this review, but I got to get something good in here. As much as we're burying the cover of this album and the line about how there were going to be stampedes at Kmart's around the nation, at the very end of the show, they do WrestleMania, that WrestleMania theme, and they do a music video. That fucking thing was the highlight of this episode by miles and miles and miles and miles. If they would have just played that for the entire hour, I would have given this the big old 2 thumbs up. As it was a bad show.
The Smoking Guns versus Dwayne Gill and Glenn Ruth. Heenan makes a joke here about Glenn Ruth and his mother, Dr. Ruth. You've never seen or heard a joke over a man's head the way this went over Vince's head.
It did, and then, but when he finally got it, he goes, his mother is Dr. Ruth? Yes. Like he was thinking, God damn, I gotta sign this guy. What a fucking gimmick I could give the son of Dr. Ruth.
So I believe while this match was going on, Austin and Colton Gunn were born and grew into men. This goes on forever and ever. And the Guns finally win with a backdrop into a pile driver. It was very scary. Doing laundry there? What's happening?
No, the heater turned on. It's fucking cold.
Heater turned on. All right. A Ludwig Borga video package.
Oh, God. I will never... You know what's funny is, like, what a forgettable gimmick Ludwig Borga was. And, then he went into MMA and then politics, and then he eventually... he took his own life, was the end of Ludwig Borga. But I will never forget, and I have no fucking idea why, that Ludwig Borga was the one who ended the undefeated streak of Tatanka. I will never forget the referee
I don't either.
Actually counting 3 when Ludwig Borga pinned Tatanka. That streak meant something to me as a kid, and I don't know why, because I was never like a fan of Tatanka, but I think it was just like, we mentioned before, wrestling is fake, but you can do real things in wrestling, and an undefeated streak is a real thing, even though wrestling itself is not real. So when you see a guy who's been undefeated for a year and a half or 2 years or whatever, and they constantly bring up that the guy is undefeated, it suddenly means something that when the guy finally gets beaten. And when Ludwig Borga made the cover and the ref went, and he did it was like Hebner, I think. And it was, Hebner did the dramatic counts, and he goes, 1, 2. He has a big dramatic 3. As a kid, I was just like, it's fucking over. It was just like, it blew my mind that he'd been beaten. I was the only one.
A year or 2 ago, we were watching those old Superstars episodes, and Tatanka was on every week, and I was one, of course. And every week in the review, you would say, I just can't believe how much work they put into the streak, and then how it ended. And I would always ask, how did it end? And you had never told me. So at some point, I looked it up, and yes, Ludwig Borga pinned Tatanka. He was the first one. And I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy we did not stick with old Superstars episodes just to answer that question.
Was it on Superstars? I don't remember what show it was on.
Oh, I don't remember what show it was.
I'm hoping it's on Raw so we can
It's here.
Did you see that?
It's here. What? No. I haven't logged the video.
Was attacked by fucking Mothman.
Oh. How's he doing?
He's going to be dead soon.
Oh, well. Poor Mothman. Anyway, yeah, Ludwig Borga's here. The whole video is he's just clubbering dudes and telling people to stand for the Finnish national anthem.
You tell me we had a foreign heel on this show now?
Did, yes.
God.
From Finland. One of those traditional U.S. rivals, the Finns.
Yeah, Superstars, apparently.
Yes. A Lex Luger interview in the building before the fans have arrived. He's back in New York for the first time since he body slammed Yokozuna. He was happy to see that big boat again. He's happy to get his title shot at SummerSlam. He'll be happy to wear a forearm pad if that's what it takes. And Vince just asks, we all want to know, who is Lex Luger? Will you submit to tough questions? And Lex says, I am an open book. People should ask whatever they feel.
Well, no, he goes, I've been taking this tour all around the country, and that's all the people have been doing is asking me tough questions. I thought, so you're doing a Lex Express tour, and you get off this fucking bus, and there's like a line of people right there.
They're grilling
and instead
you.
of coming up and saying, oh, thank you for slamming Yokozuna, thank you for representing our country, hey, can you sign this? They walk up to him and go, what's your take on drugs in sports? Especially steroids. That's what happened on the Lex Express tour?
What
Because they
happened
did say that later. They go, we will be asking Lex a number of questions about his opinion on personal matters, including drugs in sports, particularly steroids.
Yes.
What a advertisement for next week that was. I can't wait for next week's Raw.
Yeah. He promises that even though he has his title match, the Lex Express is going to keep rolling. He's going to keep building support around the country. So they show highlights of the Lex Express making a stop somewhere. So help me God, it's literally just people standing in line. I would rather go to the Tillamook Cheese Factory cafeteria for lunch and then go see Lex at the Lex Express. Doink versus Phil Apollo.
I didn't mention that when I stood in line for like 45 minutes for the food, as I noted, and I order everyone's food, and I wanted a slice of pizza because I saw the pizza when I walked in, and the pizza is literally this thick. It's this big ass fucking thick piece of pizza, and so I had to have a piece. So I wait in line the entire time, I order everyone else's food, and then the last thing, of course, I say is, "Can I get a couple slices of that pizza?" And this fucking guy tells me, "You got to go wait in the other line."
That's excellent.
So I
That's some
take
top level trolling.
Oh my god! So I take the because they got that little beeper you take to your table so they can bring your food to you. Yeah. So I take the beeper to the table. I give it to Whitney and the kids, and I say, I'm furious, but I want a fucking piece of pizza, so I'm going to go to that other line. So I go to the other line, and there's literally not one person in the line, which should have been, by the way, I should have known. So there's no one in line. So I go right up to the counter. And they go, what do you want? And I said, can I get one of the little pepperoni pizza things? And they go, okay, it'll be however, $6 or whatever. And by the way, it's going to be about 15, 20 minutes. I said, okay, well, are you going to bring it to the table? And they said, no. Come back here in about 10 minutes and ask if it's done. I was like, well, how are they going to know that I ordered it? They go, just come back in 10 minutes and tell them what you ordered. And I was like, I can't have a beeper? They go, we only give you a beeper if you get a whole pizza. I'm like, what the fuck kind of operation is this? So I walk back to the fucking table. I sitting there waiting 10 minutes. And finally, I just walk up there 10 minutes later, and the guy's like cutting these pizzas. And I go, yeah, I had a pepperoni. Is the pepperoni done yet? The guy goes, yeah, how many did you order? I was like, I don't know, one. He goes, okay. He puts it in a box and gives it to me. I'm like, God, what? Where the fuck am I? And then, of course, I ate the pizza. It was an absolute, complete, and utter shit. Like, you see a pizza this thick and you think it's like a New York deep dish pizza? No, it's just like, it's a piece of fucking Wonder Bread, a thick piece of Wonder Bread, and they sprinkle a little fucking cheese on top, and they put like 3 pepperoni slices. Like, I would have been better off at fucking Chuck E. Cheese than eating this fucking pizza. God.
New York's so famous for its deep dish pizza.
Wherever, Chicago, wherever they make the deep dish pizza. Fucking, bro, you could have gotten a deep dish pizza in fucking Nebraska, and it would have been better than the deep dish pizza that I got at this fucking Tillamook Cheese Factory.
So
where were we?
Doink is beating up Phil Apollo. I'm going to talk to Lex about getting kicked out of Miami and using steroids. And Doink destroys Apollo, wins with the whoopee cushion. Then he cuts a promo on Savage, so the show ends just as it began. Savage has been interfering in his matches. He says, if you get in the ring with me, you won't be seeing double vision. You'll be seeing triple vision. And there's a Doink on the floor, and a Doink in the ring, and a Doink in the stands. And Macho says, you bring 20,000 Doinks if you want to. I'll have a little surprise for you.
I was so disappointed because they were talking about, they go, last week on Superstars, there were 20 Doinks. And then they explained it was 2 doinks and then 18 doinks on the screen. But, man, I was so disappointed because I didn't remember the gimmick where they had 20 doinks. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, man, if Savage came out and he was swarmed by 20 fucking doinks, that would have been the greatest angle I ever saw. But anyway, so Savage is all, doing whatever, and Doink calls him into the ring, and Vince goes, "No, Randy, remember your contract," which apparently is you have to announce and you can't wrestle or whatever. So then, Doink goes, "Well, if you're not going to come to me, I'll come to you." So Doink goes down to the table, and Doink goes, "If you want to prove you're not the Macho Boy, we could do this next week." And Savage stands up and goes, "Well, I guess we're going to do it next week then." And now Vince is all excited that he's going to wrestle next week. It's like, well, does he have a contract where he can't wrestle? What's his contract say? He can't get in the ring unless he's getting in the ring to wrestle? So anyway, I guess Macho Man's retirement ends next week with a match with Doink.
So there you go, everyone. That was Raw. That's the whole thing.
Tell me about that music video. Was that not awesome?
Oh, they did play Linda McMahon's theme.
Well, this was long before it was Linda McMahon's theme. This was the WrestleMania theme.
Yeah.
And they had a video, and everyone's doing moves. And it was like they're rapping about WrestleMania. This was so 90s. I loved this video. Brought me a lot of joy after watching this useless program. Some people want us to stop reviewing these Raws.
You
seen that?
Nicely worded. One customer.
It was nicely worded. I didn't get mad at the guy because he was very sincere and he was nice about it.
Yes, he's a paying customer.
But
he's not happy with the way things are going.
Well, here's the thing, buddy. Yeah. I'll address this, okay? I think we're going to keep doing Raw for the time being. But here's the deal. We did all of Raw and Nitro, right? I'm pretty sure we started Raw the same week that Nitro started, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So, worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, we're going to be doing these shows for 18 more months. Because we're not going to keep going and do the Monday Night Wars.
We're not doing Raws again. No.
If we last 18 months, we will have the entire Raw from the beginning of the show all the way through the end of the Monday Night Wars in the archives. So I feel like we should finish this last deal that connects to when we did the Monday Night Wars. And then if people want us to do whatever, post 2001, a lot of people are romanticizing post 2001, I've noticed.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that once we started reviewing them, they would find that those shows sucked as well.
Oh, yeah.
With the exception of like that brief period with Paul Heyman and SmackDown. But
which even then was like 2 matches of the show every week. The rest of it is still awful.
Yeah. And everyone's asking about TNA reviews, which I don't really want to do. But, I have heard people that have gone back and watched some of the pay-per-views, those remember those 2-hour pay-per-views they started with?
The weekly pay-per-views?
The weekly pay-per-views that we pretty much hated. But they said that, I don't know if it's because 20 years have passed and there's been so much shit and Raw is so horrible and SmackDown that, those things are better. But they didn't bury them. They said they were fun. So you never know what'll happen in 18 months. If all of the TNA stuff is available, maybe we'll consider doing that. But I think for now, we should at least finish off Raw.
I will not consider doing that. I lived through TNA once. I might be able to do some special occasions. Maybe try one show to see how it goes, but I'm not going to do
maybe you could try 1 or 2, and you'd realize it wasn't as bad as you remembered.
I could try 1 or 2.
Well, we don't have to worry about it for a while. Let's finish Raw. What's Raw next week? What'd they plug?
Nothing.
Lex Luger talking about steroids? I think that was the only thing they plugged.
Yes, that is in fact the only thing they plugged.
Wow. They usually plug a lot, but...
at least some kind of... Savage and Doink, I guess, is next week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I guess the big angle they did on the show. There was a show-long angle from start to finish. Funny we would forget that. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up, everybody. I got to go. I got to go take care of this moth, this heating issue.